Revenge films.
My name is Mary. I met my boyfriend at work and we got married after he proposed to me just recently. I just quit my job the other day with his advice. When we were dating each other, I had already visited his parents and I had multiple occasions to meet them.
We're planning to get married! Really? You're finally getting married!
A pretty daughter-in-law is joining our family. Oh, I'm very happy. When we let them know about our marriage, it looked like they were very happy about it. The wedding day went smoothly and I was very nervous at first, but when I saw my boyfriend being even more nervous, it made me laugh and I was able to relax. But when we went into the back room to change into a new dress, something shocking happened.
Now that they've changed into new attire, let's have the bride and groom enter once again!
We went inside, appearing in front of everyone as the MC announced. Most of the guests were colleagues who were our mutual friends, and I was feeling overjoyed to see them celebrate for us. The prettiest of all of them was our niece, the daughter of my brother-in-law, who walked in front of us throwing petals.
She's very beautiful, isn't she?
Yes! My niece was smiling as the MC handed her the microphone. Then she suddenly took the microphone from him and said,
"I'm gonna copy my grandma,"
she said. It looks like she's doing a surprise performance, and everyone anticipated what she was going to do. Everyone watched her with a warm expression, but hearing the words that left the mouth of my pretty niece, everyone froze at the spot. My brother-in-law and his wife used to live with his parents.
"I'm the one who has the most power in this household. You don't have to listen to your mom, just listen to my orders, okay?"
The room went silent, but my niece had no bad intentions, so she continued.
"Your mom is bad, so I'll kick her out soon. And your grandpa is also a bad person, so I'll kick him out too. Then we'll live happily, you, your dad, and I. And even worse, Auntie will be joining us soon, but Granny will kick her out for you too. So don't worry, Granny will shoo all the villains away."
Are you sure she said that?
"Yes, Mom, Grandpa, and Auntie are villains."
My pure niece seemed to believe that this was all part of a play, but the atmosphere made it clear that everyone else knew that that wasn't the case. Then my father suddenly stood up, and when he left the venue, all our relatives started to leave as well. After his mother ruined his wedding with all of the stuff she's been saying, my boyfriend helplessly got on his knees next to me, and his father punched his mother, who was panicking, and it was chaotic in the room. "Let's go home for today and have a family discussion," Mom told me, and although I felt bad for my boyfriend, I left too. After that, my boyfriend and his father visited me in my parents' house to apologize. The two of them got on their knees and apologized.
We're very sorry. I'm very sorry that my wife ruined your important wedding. How dare you come to meet us again?
We can't let you have our precious daughter we've been taking great care of. But both families were in an awful situation. I couldn't bear it and said, "My boyfriend did nothing wrong. I tried to persuade them, but—"
If you marry into a family with that mother-in-law, I know you're gonna be treated horribly.
My parents were against my marriage.
I understand that you might think that way. If you know that, please leave. Don't you ever come near my daughter again.
They shooed them away at the entrance. After that, we had to cancel our marriage, our honeymoon, and basically everything. But my boyfriend and his father visited us every day, getting on their knees to apologize.
Even if you don't approve of our marriage, we'll visit again and again until you can forgive us for our lack of manners. No matter how many times you visit, it would change nothing. We completely understand that you're not at fault here, but we can't hand over our daughter to a family that allows the mother to act that way,"
my parents said. As parents of a daughter who was about to get married, his claims made complete sense. Of course, my feelings for him haven't changed, but marriage involves both families. To be honest, I felt worried as well, and I didn't know what to do, so we decided to take a break from each other for a while. But after that, I made up my mind when someone gave me a call. She was Hannah, who was my bestie and worked at the same office as my boyfriend. She told me what happened after the wedding and how my boyfriend was doing now. That day, after we went home, the wedding was obviously canceled, ruined, and destroyed. But all the guests came to our wedding wanting to celebrate. Despite me not being there, my boyfriend went to apologize to each of the guests one by one. Some of the guests were obviously furious, saying they wasted money and demanded us to pay some money back to them, including the travel expenses. It looks like my boyfriend apologized to each one of them, saying sorry and promising to pay them back. Although the cause was his mother, his friends knew that it wasn't his fault, so they were in tears looking at him in that state. His boss was also invited to our wedding, and they also didn't know how to approach him. So she told me that he was isolated, being treated like a bomb that was about to explode. But he endured all of it alone, never bad-mouthing a thing about me. So she told me that I, at least, should be on his side. In the end, I didn't know if I was listening to her properly or I was just listening to myself sobbing. I was crying so bad while I held my phone. Then I made my mind to persuade my parents once again. I went to talk to my parents right after the call and told them that I wanted to get back together with him. Told them how he's been doing and how much he loves me. At first, my parents were against our marriage, but looks like they finally understood my feelings and his honesty. They finally approved our marriage, but they gave me a requirement. That was to have his parents get a divorce and remove her name from the family registration. I had no idea how to persuade a stranger to leave the family tree, and the fact that she was his mother made things worse, but I met up with him and told him everything honestly, including how I felt about this. Then she said that he'll talk to his parents about the divorce and promised me that he'll cut relations with them and never get involved again if that doesn't work. We'll go through everything together no matter what. I decided to wait for his response with that decision in mind. When he talked to his dad about it, he easily agreed to get a divorce. Well, his dad was also included in the list of people his mom wanted to kick out, so he thought there was no point in keeping the marriage status with someone who planned to kick him out. And if his divorce can make his son happy, it was an easy decision to make. After his dad told her about getting a divorce,
"Well, that was just nonsense by a child. How come you believe what she said? Oh, ridiculous. There's no way I'm getting a divorce."
she refused, but my brother-in-law and his wife also turned their back against her. So she was soon pressured a lot and had no other choice but to sign the divorce papers while they surrounded them. By the way, about what my niece said, my brother-in-law became a victim of restriction, and his wife went to work part-time to support the household as much as she could, so she had no other choice but to ask her mother-in-law to look after her for a while. It looks like she was brainwashing my niece while they were together. After that, I was successfully able to marry my husband, and surrounded by our closest friends, we held a small wedding again. We invited his boss, too, so everyone celebrated for us once again, and he no longer had to feel stressed at work. In the case of his mother, after they kicked her out with nothing, she moved into a small apartment. And she used to be a housewife thanks to her husband who worked outside, but now she had to start working part-time. She kept on getting fired within a month, and she begged her husband to forgive her multiple times. But looks like he's been ignoring her. Serves her right.
My name is Tom. I met my wife, Millie, at a client's drinking party 2 years ago, and we got married a year ago. I owned a huge piece of land that I inherited from my grandfather, so I built a huge house, too huge for just the two of us to live in after we got married. I used to work in architecture, so it had always been my dream to live in a large house. I worked really hard to make my dreams come true, and the house I built with a 35-year loan was so comfy to live in. Until that happened. 2 months after we moved into our new home, my wife brought her parents over. She hadn't told me anything about it, so I was surprised. "I guess you're visiting us. I haven't prepared anything, so maybe I'll go and get some drinks." I was about to go out when my mother-in-law said,
"What are you saying? We're not here to visit, but we're going to move in with you."
She said to me. I thought she was joking at first, but she wasn't the type to make jokes, so I sensed that she was telling the truth, and I called my wife to come to the room next door. "What is going on? You never told me about this."
Our house is huge. Why can't they move in with us?
She didn't look sorry at all. When I told her it was unacceptable for her to decide without consulting me, she got mad.
Do you not want to live with my family?
She yelled. I guess her voice was loud enough for them in the living room to hear.
"What? You don't want us to move in with you?"
My mother-in-law got furious. Since then, my mother-in-law started to treat me harshly, and when I was at home, she would always complain. It turned out that they had already sold their house, and they had nowhere else to go. So I had no other choice but to let them move in with us. but they never paid for their living expenses despite moving in with us, and I had to pay for everything, including the house loan, utility bills, and food expenses. Of course, we were barely making ends meet with just my salary, so if they're gonna continue living with us, I asked my wife to find a job too. Then my wife said,
You said I could be a housewife. How dare you say that now? I'll sue you for marriage fraud.
That was what she started to say. It's true that she wanted to be a housewife before we got married. Okay then, I'll depend on you with the housework. That was what we agreed on, but I thought she knew better that it wasn't gonna work anymore in this situation. Seeing her uncooperative behavior made me irritated, but whenever she was unhappy with something, she would always tell her mother about it, causing trouble for me, so I couldn't say anything. My mother-in-law's sarcasm was getting worse and worse. She would say,
A guy who doesn't make much money like you is basically a pet.
She insulted me like this. When this happened, my mentally weak father-in-law would look at me with pity, but it didn't seem like he would ever stop his wife. One day, I heard excited voices from the living room when I came home from work. When I opened the door, I found many boxes of pizza and bottles of alcohol on the table, and they were having a party without me. I knew something was wrong with such a feast going on before my payday. What's going on? When I asked my wife,
We ordered delivery using your credit card. Oh, but there's none for you. So eat some instant noodles or something, okay?
she replied, You used my credit card without asking me? When I asked, my mother-in-law replied,
What's the big deal? Don't be so stingy.
So I couldn't help but say, Because of you all, we're barely making ends meet. I slipped out what I had been feeling. That moment she made an expression that resembled a demon.
How dare you say that to your wife's parents?
She yelled. By the time I realized what I had done, it was too late, and she grabbed me, unable to calm her anger down. My wife said as she watched,
You deserve it after what you said to my mom.
She took her mother's side. My mother-in-law, who had a firm build, grabbed me by my collar, and I rushed back to my room to escape. I was too scared to leave my room that night, and the next morning I left for work before anyone woke up. That night, I felt too depressed to go home, but when I arrived home after work and slowly stepped into the house, my mother-in-law suddenly said,
Oh, our pet is home. You can't come in.
She led me to the garden. Then I found a doghouse which wasn't there until yesterday. She pointed towards it.
This is your house starting today. Never come inside again.
She forcefully kicked me out and locked the door. At that moment, it started raining, so I had no other choice but to spend the night in the small doghouse. Now that I was forbidden to go inside, I renovated the doghouse, installed a lock, secretly went inside the house to get my most important belongings, and hid them there. I started living at a hotel, and now that I had more time to think alone, I was able to calm down and think rationally. As a result, I decided to get a divorce without asking them to give back my house. Alongside my preparations to get a divorce, I also started preparing for disowning the house. I secretly met up with my father-in-law. I'll hand over the house to you. Let's go through the procedure to change the name of the owner. Then he said, Are you handing it over to us? Thank you! He casually agreed and went through the procedure. I didn't know how much income he had, but considering how easily he underwent the procedure, I felt relieved knowing that he would be able to pay the loan. The house was successfully handed over to my father-in-law, and everything would end if I could just get a divorce with my wife. That was when it happened. When I was sleeping at my hotel, feeling exhausted, I was woken up with a sudden, violent shake. It's an earthquake! I abruptly woke up, and after a while, the shake stopped. The guests of the hotel were leaving their room one by one and evacuating using the stairs, so I joined them to go out. The shake was very violent, so the electricity was cut off, and I could see that several houses had collapsed. I knew this was going to be quite a struggle, and the guests had to spend the night in the hall on the first floor following the rules announced by the hotel. The next day, when I went back home after a long time, remembering that I'd hidden my most important belongings in the doghouse, the house had collapsed, resulting in a state that was unable for anyone to live in. When I was in shock in front of the house, my wife and parents-in-law spotted me.
Contact the insurance company right now. I assume we have the earthquake insurance?
My mother-in-law said to me, "I already terminated the earthquake insurance. This is not my house anymore." Then my wife and her mother went crazy. Looks like my father-in-law hadn't told them about the changing of the name of the owner yet, so my wife and my mother-in-law knew nothing about it. I explained everything, and when I handed my wife the divorce papers...
What are we going to do with this house if we get a divorce? Where are we supposed to live?
She refused to get a divorce.
Let's calm down. We still have the loan to pay.
My mother-in-law said, "We changed the name of the owner so the loan would also be deducted from your husband's bank account. The house is all yours now, so it's none of my business." Then my wife and her parents started to panic. I left the scene after getting my belongings from the doghouse, ignoring them, and I decided to stay at the hotel until things calmed down. Since then, my wife has been calling me repeatedly.
Please don't get divorced with me. It's impossible for us to pay the loan and the rent at the same time. Our family needs you,
she said to me. So I told her that I'll hire a lawyer if she doesn't agree to our divorce. What my mother-in-law did was moral harassment, so I persuaded her to submit the divorce papers if she doesn't want to pay compensation money, and she reluctantly submitted the papers, allowing us to get a divorce. After that, my wife and her parents started to live in a room located in an old apartment. They couldn't make a living with just her father's salary, and my wife, as well as her mother, started working part-time to earn their living expenses. But with her problematic and needy personality, she wasn't able to keep her job for long, and that was affecting their living. As they got all stressed out of living an impoverished life, they started fighting with each other often. While they had fierce fights tackling each other, her mother fell on the ground, and because she hit her weak spot, she became disabled, leaving her with no other choice but to rely on a wheelchair. I heard that my wife got depressed taking care of her disabled mother and working many part-time shifts. In my case, a month after the earthquake, I moved into a new mansion with a firm structure, and I started living my free, single life. I was free from stress because I was no longer referred to as a pet, so I think I can live my life with a positive attitude from now on.
I think my family was just ordinary. My parents both worked full-time, and both my mother and father had a job, so I was a latchkey child when I was in elementary school. We didn't live an extravagant life, but we did go out to eat on the weekends, and I remember going on family trips during summer break. My family, which I thought was always ordinary, suddenly broke apart when I was in middle school. I couldn't believe it, but my father was cheating on my mother. I was in middle school back then, so I couldn't understand what happened at first, but I still remember how sad my mother looked. So after my father left the house following their divorce, I studied really hard and went to university by getting a scholarship. Since that day, I could never forgive my father who betrayed his family. But last month, we were informed that he passed away due to an illness. For me, I really didn't care whether he was alive or not, but I was so depressed because I had to meet the woman I never wanted to see again in my life to talk about our inheritance. The woman I'm talking about is obviously my father's secret lover, who tortured us mentally back then. When we just found out about my father's affair, it was like war at home. My mother would yell at him, blame him, and sometimes break into tears. When she drank alcohol and got drunk, she even threw her glass to my father. and it was common for her to break things around the house. So my father looked desperate to pretend like he didn't exist in our house, even in that situation.
It's not her fault. I was the one who fell in love with her.
He would take her side all the time, and I bet my mother also had some pride as a woman. She once invited his secret lover over. Back then, I was unable to enter the room where my parents and his secret lover were talking, so I was eavesdropping from the room next door. His secret lover not only looked problematic, but her attitude was also awful. When she came over, she didn't even try to act sorry about it, and towards my mother? It's not my fault that he cheated on you. How come you're angry, looking so domesticated? It's your fault for being cheated on. She laughed as she looked down on my mom, and she also commented on me, who was peeking through the gap in the door. Your kid is ugly too, taking after you. I think I understand why your husband would want to cheat on you with a beauty like me. She kept insulting my looks, although I was just a middle schooler at the time. While she did so, my father didn't even try to stop her from insulting us and was just sitting there looking awkward. He was looking down silently, and I was shocked to see him saying nothing in our defense. Because he acted like that, his secret lover kept on looking down on my mother. Do you get it? He no longer has any feelings left for you. He loves me. That means you and your kid will be dumped soon enough. She laughed. From my perspective, I had no idea why my father cheated on my mother with a woman like her. I was so embarrassed, I can only hold a grudge against him. For me, his secret lover looked more like a hag with heavy makeup. But after that, my father ended up leaving us and moved in with the girl. By the time that happened, my mother looked like she had already given up on him. When my father was packing to leave the house, she didn't say anything to him. Like that, she agreed to get a divorce on the condition of receiving compensation money and child support. After their divorce, my mother and I moved to her parents' house, and she took care of me as she worked. My father did pay her compensation money, but he would often fail to meet the deadline of paying child support every month. And he stopped transferring us any money unless we asked him to, and he finally just abandoned us. I heard the rumor that he got remarried with that girl after that, but I didn't care about him anymore after he dumped my mother and I. From what my mother told me later, the girl had gone through a divorce once and had a child. After I heard that, I got even more confused about why he cheated on my mother with her. I guess that hag with heavy makeup was his type. After that, I grew up and became old enough to help my mother out, and I successfully got a job. My work was going well, and I wanted to return the favor of looking after me alone all these years. So I worked really hard. Then one day, that girl appeared in front of us after a decade since the divorce. She still had heavy makeup on, but her face was lifeless, and her arrogance she had back then had disappeared. A few years after remarrying my father, she got ill, went through a surgery, and her body could no longer handle too much work, so I heard that she became a housewife after that. They had to make ends meet with just my father's salary, so that's why he stopped paying us child support. Obviously, my father had no savings left, and they barely had any money left. They found out that my father had inherited some stocks of a large company from his father, so she told us it would be quite a lot of money if they turned that into banknotes. She lives in a rented apartment, and it looks like she needed money now that my father has passed away. My mother had no right to inherit that from my father, but it seems like I still had the right of inheritance. So she asked if I can abandon the right for her. I really couldn't help but laugh out loud. How dare she says that to me after all that? How come she's saying this nonsense after she looked down on us and laughed at us back then? Maybe she's going through a hard time now, but my mother had to struggle a lot after getting divorced so suddenly, and my father stopped paying us child support. She's being too arrogant for asking me to abandon my right just because she's struggling, so I clearly refused. I won't abandon my right of inheritance. That's my right. Please, I wouldn't be able to work unless I get the money, and I'll have to live on welfare. I don't want to trouble my daughter. You think it wasn't hard for my mother? When you lived happily with my father, my mother has been making bleeding effort. So if I have the right of inheritance, I would happily receive it to return her for the favor. Please, please. I think that's what my mother felt too. She would have wanted to beg you, who looked down on her, laughed at her, and took everything away from her. Serves you right, madam. Her butt hit the ground as if all the energy had left her body, but I felt nothing towards her. After that, I quickly turned the stocks I inherited from my father into money, and I used the money to go on a trip with my mother, just the two of us, after a long time. I handed the rest of the money to my mother. She refused to accept it at first, but when I told her to consider it our child support, that had finally been paid to us, and that it's up to her to decide how she wants to use it, she told me she'll keep it for when I have a family and give birth to her pretty grandchild in the near future. The money was from my father who betrayed us, but it was a right I had to inherit this money, so it's not something we received unfairly. So I decided to accept it if my mother was happy with that. Fortunately, I'm working at a nice company, so I'm not in need of money right now. I had enough money to support a few people, including my mother. Then you might suggest that I should have given her and her kid my inheritance, but I wasn't kind enough to do that. I've seen my mother struggle a lot all these years. It's not her kid's fault, but knowing that it would help her too in the end, I just didn't want to hand them the money if I'm completely honest. The lawyer in charge seemed to be used to these things, and the process went very smoothly. A few years later, I heard a rumor about her and her daughter, and they seemed to be able to make a living after inheriting some money. But after a few years, they no longer had any money nor income, so they had to live on welfare, and the kid couldn't go to college and had to quit high school to find a job. It's true that her kid is not at fault, but I think the one who pushed us to hit rock bottom in life was being punished by God right now. I wonder how she feels seeing her own daughter sacrificing her life because of her. Obviously, my father is also at fault, but thinking that she's finally paying the price of destroying our family, I think I'll finally be able to move on. For the rest of her long life, she should continue to regret what she has done. My name is Maria. I've been doing my best in life with my 5-year-old daughter until now. I got a divorce with my husband when I was pregnant with my daughter, Sally. The reason was because he cheated on me. Back then, I was betrayed by my husband when I was about to give birth, and I was in despair, hitting rock bottom in life. But thanks to Sally, I was able to work hard to this point. I told Sally about something I had in mind. Hey, Sally, would you be happy if you're getting a dad?
Huh? Dad? I'm so happy! Are you gonna get married to Mr. Neal?
Yes, he proposed to me.
Yay! I love Mr. Neal!
I've always lived as a single mother, but I met a gentleman called Mr. Neal a year ago, started dating him, and he proposed to me the other day. While we dated, Sally had also seen him several times, and they were very close. I got a divorce while I was still pregnant with Sally, so it was basically Sally's first time to have a dad, and I could see that she was very excited.
Hey, does that mean that I can tell everyone about it?
Maybe we should wait a little more. I think it's better if we inform everyone after we officially get married.
Okay, I'm so excited, so hurry up and get married, Mom!
I knew that my daughter wanted to brag about her dad as soon as possible. I bet she's been feeling uncomfortable a lot because everyone at her kindergarten has a dad. But I knew that the reason nowadays was because of the influence of Miley's mom and her friends. Miley was a girl who goes to the same kindergarten as my daughter, but with her mom,
Sally is the only one who doesn't have a dad.
She would say things like that. I think parents would normally scold their child when they say something like that, but Miley's mom would join in and say, "Right, maybe her mom got divorced because she did something bad. Hey, aren't you being a bit too rude? You don't know anything about us." "Oh, if you're getting mad because I pointed that out, I bet you must be the reason why you got a divorce." I could handle it if they only said things about me, but I honestly was pissed off by them saying these things to my daughter, who was still in kindergarten. So I knew my daughter wanted to tell everyone about her dad as soon as possible. Although we've already decided to get married, we still haven't turned in the papers, so I bet she'd point out things like our last name's not changing yet, and I thought my daughter might feel even more hurt being told these things. Fortunately, my daughter was a good girl, so I felt relieved when she agreed to wait a little more. One day, when I went to the kindergarten with my new car, I found a huge dent on the door when my daughter and I were away for a short while. Huh? What happened? When I stood there in shock, Miley's mom approached from behind as she giggled. "Oh, what a huge dent. Oh, it looks terrible now. These things happen because you ride new cars despite being poor. Oh, what a pity," she said to me. How dare someone make a dent in my car at a kindergarten parking lot? The person definitely had bad intentions and used a rock or something. I instantly got suspicious of Miley's mom, but it was true that I didn't have any evidence. After that, I had no other choice but to get it fixed. They told me that it's going to take around a week to get it fixed, but they had no extra cars available that they could let me borrow, so I borrowed my mom's car for a while. But not everything was bad. I submitted the papers with my boyfriend and we finally got married. My daughter quickly came up to ask me whether she can tell everyone, so when I nodded yes, she went to tell all her friends, looking excited. One day, when I didn't know what to do after my mom told me that she was going to use her car today, my darling agreed to let me borrow his car, so I decided to use his instead to go to the kindergarten. When I came back to the car after taking my daughter to her classroom, I saw someone standing near his car. When I approached, I found Miley's mom there.
How dare a poor woman like her ride such an expensive car? So irritating. I'll make her learn a lesson.
As she said so, she thumped a rock hard into his car. What are you doing? I knew it was you who dented my car the other day.
It's because you ride such an expensive car despite being broke. You don't deserve it.
How could you do something like this? I'm gonna sue you.
Huh? Who do you think my husband is? I'm the wife of the department head working at Sukat Corp, the large company. Something so small like this, I can pretend like nothing happened.
What if this car is owned by the CEO of Sukat Corp?
Huh? What are you saying? Who would ever believe that lie?
Then I'll call him right now as proof. I can also call your husband, too. When I said so, she looked worried, wondering if what I said was true, but she quickly went pale after I started giving a call. Within 10 minutes, my darling and her husband arrived.
What is this? Did you do this?
No, this is...
Yes, she's the one who did it. Actually, this isn't her first time, and now I'm getting my car fixed after she did the same thing to my car. When I told him about it, he let me borrow his car. Her husband went very pale.
I'm very sorry, sir. Please forgive us, please.
He apologized to us, begging on his knees. When she saw her husband do so, she finally seemed to understand how big of a deal it was, and she also bowed down.
I'm sorry,
she apologized. My darling looked relieved that she didn't hurt me, more than feeling sad that his car got scratched. After that, Miley's mom was taken home by her husband as he yelled at her, but I heard a rumor that he divorced her a few days later. It looks like her husband has been warning her to stop spending money so extravagantly. Plus, she had too much pride in herself, so she would attack those who had a lower status than her and cause a lot of trouble. But considering his position at work, he endured her because he was scared that his image would be ruined if he got a divorce. But he finally divorced her, having had enough of her. And it seems like her husband's family adopted Miley. Well, it should be better for her to be separated from someone like her, and she'll get to receive proper education if she stays with her dad, who has common sense. It looks like the husband was very diligent with his work, so my darling didn't push him too much. But instead, he made Miley's mom pay compensation money. Well, his expensive car was dented all over the place. She was hitting the car so fiercely, my car was nothing compared to that. It was the same for my car, but his car was one of the few in the country, so the price to get it fixed was a surprisingly large amount. Her ex-husband is also asking for compensation money, so I heard that she's literally hopeless. Serves her right, though. She used to live in a high-rise condominium because her husband was the department head of a large corporation, but she was kicked out, and now she lives in a small one-room apartment, working part-time shifts, wearing worn-out clothes. But I bet 15 years of this kind of miserable life won't even be enough to pay all her money back. By the way, I started my life anew with my darling and daughter. I guess my daughter was very happy about having a dad after living her whole life with just the two of us. So she always asks her dad to play with her or cuddle her, and he loves being asked that as well. When I married him, I thought his parents would disapprove of marrying a woman who got a divorce once and already had a child. But his parents are very kind and adore Sally as well. Miley's mom really gave me headaches, but now I never have to see her kindergarten anymore, so I guess all's well if it ends well. My name is Molly. I used to share a room in a mansion as I worked at the convenience store, but my friend was going to move in with her boyfriend, and I was in danger of having to pay all the rent by myself. I managed with just working part-time, but now that I had to pay all the rent, it would be harder for me to make a living. But I couldn't move into a cheaper apartment because that would cost me money as well, so I started looking for a full-time job. Then I found an available position for a job, so I quickly went to have the job interview. It's been a while since I had a job interview, so I was nervous, but the CEO was very kind, and I got accepted for the job right there. I was on cloud 9, dancing my way home from the interview, and I informed the convenience store that I'll be quitting my job at the end of this month, and they accepted that. It's like a dream come true for me to get a full-time job, and I never expected to find a new job so easily. I was overjoyed with my unexpected and fortunate turn of events. But thinking back, the job interview had some questionable aspects. Usually the interviewer would ask me more about myself, but he was willing to give me the job as soon as I entered the room. But I was pretty desperate to find a new job, so I didn't worry too much about it. And on my first day of work, I greeted everyone energetically. "Good morning. I hope you can take good care of me." I went to work half an hour before the work hours started, but unexpectedly, the CEO scolded me.
You're late. You know that today's your first day of work, so you have to be here at least an hour before.
An hour? Coming half an hour early was already special for me, but after he told me that it was normal to come an hour earlier, I was honestly shocked. But I didn't want to get into an argument on my first day of work, so I wasn't able to say anything. He didn't tell me much about the company at the interview, but once I joined the company, it turns out that it was a small corporation managed by his family with nearly no employees. The husband was the CEO, the wife was the managing director, and the rest were 2 or 3 part-time workers, so it was a typical small business. The wife came to explain about my job when I was feeling confused. I found out right there that my job was doing basically everything at this company. It turns out that there were no full-time workers at this company, and there was no one who managed the part-time workers, which means that I'll be the manager on my first day at work. According to what I heard from the part-time workers later, they don't know where and what the CEO is doing every day, and the wife would just visit the company once in a while, not doing much work. So it was basically like they were making me, the full-time employee, do everything for them. What made it worse was that this company normalized working till late for free, so he was asking me to work for additional hours free when he told me to come an hour early. Sometimes they'll even make you work until midnight if you don't get it done in time. I was happy to get a job, but I went pale after finding out about the horrible working conditions. But because I already quit my part-time job at the convenience store, I wouldn't be able to pay for my rent if I quit. Although I know it was going to be hard, I had no other choice. As the part-time workers told me, my job was very hard. I had to do some cleaning early in the morning, and all the responsibilities were thrown to me.
Are you not done yet? We're going home now, but you better finish it, or else I'm not paying your salary.
Like that, I had to work until midnight, and they even called me on the weekends, and when I was wondering why,
"Hi, we have our relative's funeral today, so make sure you come," she said to me.
"Huh? Why? I'm not your relative." When I said that,
"You're basically our relative if you're a full-time employee at our company. Don't forget your condolence money. $300 should be enough."
$300? I thought she had to be kidding, but I was scared to be fired, so I had no other choice but to prepare money for someone I didn't even know their face or name. When I went to the funeral,
"Why are you standing there? Go and deal with the guests. Bring this, and after you're done, go to the kitchen and wash the pile of dishes."
She made me work until the night, so I asked, do I get paid extra for this? When I asked her,
"Huh? What are you saying? Why would I pay for something you're responsible for doing?"
I had enough when I heard her reply. "You have to be kidding. This is unrelated to my job. I'm going home." Like that, I went home. Then the next day, as soon as the CEO saw my face, "I'll have you quit the job in 2 months," he said. When I was surprised, his wife added,
"It's called an encouragement for resignation."
She smirked as she said, "Why are you doing this all of a sudden?"
"You're not behaving yourself, and you're not that good with your work. You're not a match to our company,"
she said to me, and added to what happened the day before. I really got mad, and I started looking for a new job that day. I guess my rage pushed me forward, and I fortunately was able to find myself a new job earlier than expected. So I submitted a letter of resignation to the company, and following the law, I told them that I'll quit in 2 weeks. Then the two of them were furious.
"I told you that you're quitting in 2 months. We can't just let you leave so suddenly."
It's gonna have negative influences on our business. I'm asking for compensation. I'm calling the Labor Standards Inspection Office.
He called the office on his phone, but I overheard their conversation on the phone, and it was absolutely wonderful. My employee suddenly told me that she was quitting her job, and that is affecting my business negatively, so I want to ask for compensation money. That was his claim, but as soon as he revealed that they had encouraged me to resign...
You encouraged her to resign? Then there shouldn't be much influence on your business even if she quit.
The staff explained to them. It makes me laugh when I remember how they looked during the call. They continued to make a fuss on the phone, but looks like they weren't taken seriously. So I added, "Okay, then I'm quitting in 2 weeks." I guess they were pissed off by my attitude and the staff on the phone's attitude.
I don't care. You're fired. Don't you ever come back again,
he said, so I smirked. "Thank you. Please don't forget to transfer me the money." Then the two of them, looking confused, said,
Huh? Transfer? What do you mean?
"Huh? Oh, you're the one who said I no longer had to come to work. That means you're firing me on the spot. Then you need to pay me a dismissal allowance."
What is that?
Ugh, you own a company, but you don't even know about it? Read Article 20, Paragraph 1 of the Labor Standard Law carefully. If you don't transfer me the money, I'm definitely calling the inspection office. After saying that, I quickly left the company. By the way, Labor Standards Law, Article 20, Paragraph 1, states that if you're firing your employee on the spot, you have to pay for the salary worth more than 30 days, and that's the dismissal allowance. I kind of figured that things might turn out like this, considering their personality, so I studied about the law, and I am glad I did that. I guess they looked it up after I left. Within a month, they transferred me more than a month worth of salary, including the money I should have been paid for extra work on the weekends. I guess they understood that this was a big deal. After that, I was fortunately able to start anew at an ordinary working environment at a new company. By the way, I heard that they went bankrupt after being investigated by the Labor Standards Inspection Office. It turns out the staff who answered their call thought something was weird about the company and did some research, resulting in finding proof about their harsh working conditions, and with the testimony of the part-time workers, the company quickly went bankrupt. The full-time employees who used to work for them are also asking them to pay for the salary they should have received but hadn't, and I heard that they're in a lot of debt now, but they deserve it.
My name is Thomas. I was a system engineer when I used to work for a company, but after I got married, I quit my job, and now I work as a freelance system engineer at home. It was because my wife told me when we got married,
I don't want to quit my job no matter what.
She was a businesswoman who worked at a large corporation. She was a businesswoman with her job as the top priority. As a result, I, who was more time flexible, agreed to do the housework such as cooking. To save money as much as we could, I make her a lunchbox every day. I did marry her knowing that I'll have to do the housework, but as soon as we got married, I started struggling with her moral harassment. As soon as she came home from work, she yelled at me even before she greeted me.
Hey, what the hell was that lunchbox?
Huh? What's the problem?
It looked horrible. I was embarrassed in front of my female juniors when I ate lunch with them today. Don't you understand that color is important? It would have been better if it tasted good, but I dumped them in the bin again after I took a bite because it tasted horrible as always.
No way! I wake up early every day to make your lunchbox despite having deadlines for my work. Plus, I care a lot about the color balance too.
Then you must really suck at art. You don't even know what tastes good.
I've cooked for my parents and friends in the past, but they never said something awful like this. I also used to work as a part-time chef once.
Then I bet your parents and friends cared for your feelings and lied to you. I bet your customers felt like it was too much work to complain about your cooking. First of all, I thought it was your job to cook properly. Have you forgotten that already? It hasn't been too long since we got married.
I haven't! That's why I'm cooking properly every day!
If you want to use the word properly, you better cook something edible that looks nice. You don't call it cooking when you want to spit it out as soon as you take a bite. You really lack hard work, okay?
Maybe she's just feeling irritated after a bad day at work, and it's true that taste buds differ from person to person. I forcefully persuaded myself and apologized to her. I'm sorry, I'll try harder. At that moment, she flashed a smile triumphantly. 3 months had passed since our marriage, and I was pretty proud of my cooking skills, so I was working hard every day to make my wife happy. But because she got angry at me every day, nearly 100 days in a row, it made me wonder if I was really a terrible cook, and that it's my fault to be blamed for. When we get into an argument, I always end up apologizing because I don't like to get into a fight. The moment I say I'm sorry, my wife would smile, looking triumphant. If I was at fault, it would be right for me to apologize. But I really wasn't sure if my cooking was so awful. According to my wife, it tasted so bad that she couldn't even take a second bite. I used to help my parents cook dinner since I was little because they both worked full-time. I also used to work as a part-time chef, and when my friends and I had home parties, they all looked forward to my cooking. It's hard to believe that all the people around me were just caring about my feelings, which prevented them from telling me that I was a bad cook, just like my wife told me. But my wife always told me my cooking was horrible and dumped my dishes in the bin without giving much thought. I asked her as I was getting ready for dinner, "Hey, are you really sure that my cooking is so bad?"
Huh? I've been telling you this so many times. If I continue to eat your cooking, I'll have to rush to the toilet. My taste buds will start to malfunction and I'll probably become sick.
If you insist, I can go buy ready-to-eat meals from the supermarket or convenience store. That would be easier for me, too.
Are you not going to keep the promise you made just 3 months ago? You told me that you were a great cook and that you'd make a lunchbox for me and cook dinner for me every day.
I did say that, but to be honest, I no longer want to cook for you anymore.
I hate ready-to-eat meals sold at convenience stores and supermarkets. Gosh, if I'd known that you were a horrible cook, I wouldn't have married you in the first place. Your mother is such a good cook. How about you learn some skills from her? Ugh, I feel deceived.
I learned how to cook from my mom, so I'm sure it tastes just the same. I placed the dishes I cooked for dinner on the table, but after my wife took a bite...
You made these cheap-looking dishes for dinner today? Tastes horrible as usual. I guess I'll have to dump it in the bin again.
My wife dumped one dish after another, which I just cooked for dinner, into the bin. Hey! What are you doing? Stop it!
What I do with my serving is up to me.
She dumped everything without listening to a word I said. She went back to her room without eating anything, but I assumed she came home after eating out somewhere. The next day, I visited my parents and asked, "Am I such an awful cook?" My parents laughed. My mom said to me,
No way. You had a great reputation when you worked as a part-time chef. They even asked if you wanted to work for them full-time. Also, when our relatives gathered during the summer, everyone praised your cooking, saying it was delicious. Did someone tell you that you were bad at cooking?
I asked them for advice about my wife. I tried changing the flavor and tried many different ways, but I told them that she would always throw them away. I said to my mom, "Can you come over and cook for us once?" A few days later, Mom came over to cook dinner for us instead. I welcomed my wife home pretending like I was the one who cooked. My wife took a bite and threw it in the bin as always.
How can you cook something so awful every day? I bet you have absolutely no talent in cooking.
I didn't make it. Mom's in the other room, see?
Huh? Your mother?
She went pale seeing Mom come out from the room in the back.
Why is your mother here?
You told me that my mom was better at cooking, so I asked her to come over and cook for us. But it turns out you didn't know the difference in taste. My wife tried to explain.
This is a misunderstanding. I just wanted my husband to get better at cooking, so I was being strict on him about his cooking.
But your taste buds are so dull that you can't even taste the difference between Mom's cooking and mine? When my mom and I questioned her, she finally lost her temper.
What the hell is going on? Like son, like mother. Just because I complained about his cooking skills, how come an outsider is butting into our business? What's wrong about throwing away awful food?
You finally showed your true colors.
Huh? So what?
I'm divorcing you.
Why would I ever agree to that? I have a public image to protect. I am known to be a businesswoman who balances work and housework perfectly at my company.
None of my business. I don't even want to see your face anymore. We're getting a divorce. A divorce!
Ridiculous. There's no way they're going to accept our divorce just because I dumped your cooking in the trash. If you insist on having a divorce, I'll sue you for moral harassment and make you pay compensation money.
It's already been 3 months since you started throwing away my cooking.
So what?
You think I never filmed you doing that even once? By the way, Mom's recording your horrible insults on her phone right now.
Huh? You have to be kidding. Wait a minute.
Bye-bye. You better be ready to pay me compensation money. Mom and I left the house. After that, I hired a lawyer, asked for compensation money, and got a divorce. I had more than enough proof, so I successfully got $10,000 as compensation. The reason for our divorce spread among her colleagues, relatives, and friends. I bet that was the biggest downside of our divorce for her. Considering how she had high pride, she no longer was able to continue working at her company, and she soon quit her job. The rumor spread within the industry, so I don't think she'll be able to find a similar full-time job in another company ever again. I heard she's been working part-time for months, although she used to be a busy businesswoman. A lot of things happened to me, but I still love to cook. So I still cook to this day for my parents and friends who enjoy eating my cooking.
My name is Riley. I live with my husband at a place that's just a 5-minute walk from his parents' house. My husband is very kind, and I'm 7 months pregnant. I was living a happy life, but I had a problem. It was about my mother-in-law. My father-in-law was very nice, but my mother-in-law treated me harshly for some reason and looked down on me, who had a single mother. My mother got divorced with my father when I was 5, and since then she's been looking after me as a single mother. Mom always worked desperately, but I'm still very proud of her, and it pissed me off whenever my mother-in-law looked down on her. But my husband would always tell her,
Her mother is really great. She's been taking care of Riley alone after she became a single mother. Don't look down on her.
He protected me and my feelings, but because he was always protective of me, my mother-in-law called me while he was away from home and complained.
For example, she suddenly invited me over. I'm off to have tea with my friends, so make sure you finish cleaning the bath and toilet until it shines.
She said things like this.
I forgot to buy rice. I won't be able to cook unless I get them, so go buy 10 kilograms of rice for me. And buy me 3 bags of soil I'll use for our garden.
She was making me do all this stuff. I had to bend down to clean the bathroom and toilet, so it was bad for my belly. And it's obvious that it's hard for me to carry heavy things like rice and soil. She was treating me as if she didn't mind me having a miscarriage. I didn't want to get involved with my mother-in-law who treated me this way, but getting married with my beloved husband made me a family of hers, so I couldn't do anything, and I knew I just had to endure it. One day, my mother-in-law told me something unbelievable.
Once you give birth, I'm moving in with you, so you better listen to what I say.
Huh? Moving in with us? I've never heard about it from my husband. First of all, I think he'd never allow her to do that. Then she continued.
It's no surprise. There's no way someone who was brought up by a single parent like you can educate their children properly. Seeing you makes me understand that your mother has failed miserably to educate you. I really don't like how you'll become the mother, but with my skills, I'll educate my grandchild properly for you.
You're going too far. I don't mind you saying things about me, but you even insulted my mom and baby. I ran out of the house feeling sad and angry. I've never felt embarrassed in my life about how my mother was single, but why did she have to say things like that? I was so sad. That night I couldn't stop crying out of shock until my husband came home. If I really had to move in with my mother-in-law and have her take away my baby... When I was thinking about my future, my husband came home from work, so I told him what she said to me as I cried. Then he quickly took me to his parents' house, and his father looked surprised to hear what he told him. And he got furious with his wife. Of course, my husband told me that he had no plans to move in with them.
Stop with all the nonsense. You know how wonderful her mother is by seeing how Riley grew up to be. Don't you understand that you're the one who lacks manners?
Yeah, we'll never live with you. I can't bear it if my child becomes like you, who lacks manners.
I was happy that my father-in-law not only supported us, but also praised my mother. After they scolded her for a good time, she went silent for a while. I was relieved and felt that I'd no longer have to deal with her bad-mouthing my mother. My mother-in-law contacted me again.
Next weekend, I'm holding a tea party at home for the wives of the executives from my husband's company. Bring us a plate or dish of something you cooked.
At that moment, I knew something bad was going to happen. My mother-in-law usually told me that my cooking was horrible and would just dump it in the trash. So I thought I'd just refuse, but setting her aside, my father-in-law was taking great care of me. It's not like my husband got into his company through connections, but because he also worked in another department at the same company as his father, I couldn't just ignore her. I thought I could bring them a dish. Okay, I'll make something and bring it to you.
Make sure to bring something for us on the weekends.
I talked about this with my husband just in case when he came home.
You didn't have to worry about me.
No, that's not how it works. The wives of the executives from your company are visiting. Your father is the department head, and most people know that you're his son from another department, so I have to go greet them.
If Mom says something to you again, you can just come home, okay?
Yeah, I know. On the weekends, I decided what to cook among the list of ideas I had in my head, and I cooked it at home. Then my phone rang, and when I answered the call, it was from my mother-in-law. As soon as I answered,
"Gosh, I can't bear to eat your cooking, so I dumped all of them in the trash,"
she said with a laugh. What do you mean?
What I mean? It means exactly what I said.
She was speaking nonsense, so I turned off the heat and headed to her house right after. Then I heard shouts from the house even before I entered. When I opened the door, I found my father-in-law looking like a demon and my mother-in-law weeping. She was laughing at me just now, but what happened in such a short time? I had no idea what might have happened.
I didn't know. I thought it was Riley who cooked them. I was the one who was deceived.
What the hell have you done?
I went to the kitchen feeling confused, and I found an expensive-looking dish dumped in the trash. Then my mother-in-law spotted me.
You played tricks on me.
What are you talking about?
I told you to bring us a dish. It's all because you took too long to bring us the food.
It looks like she assumed that the dish on the table was my cooking, which I left at her house and dumped them in the trash.
I've had enough. You were planning to dump her cooking in the trash from the beginning, weren't you? You're horrible.
Then the CEO and his wife arrived, and as my mother-in-law turned pale,
It's not what you think. I didn't do it. It was my daughter-in-law who dumped it in the trash.
Are you still gonna lie?
Then my father-in-law slapped her in the face, and it was chaos. They had no idea what was going on, and the wife of the CEO was confused because she just arrived. But she left with judging eyes after she found out what my mother-in-law did, and the tea party was canceled. And after that, through this incident, she spread the rumor that she bullied her daughter-in-law on a daily basis, and that she dumped her cooking in the trash, assuming it was cooked by her daughter-in-law. Feeling ashamed by that, my mother-in-law no longer could step outside. Fortunately, my father-in-law was trusted by many, so nothing changed much after the tea party. But she no longer had any feelings for his wife, and they decided to get a divorce next month. It turns out that my mother-in-law was planning to have me divorce his son after I gave birth. But she ended up being the one kicked out from home after she was forced to leave.
Why do I have to get a divorce? She should be the one getting kicked out,
she said, but both my husband and his father ignored her. My husband actually got furious after finding out how she's been treating me.
You better not show yourself in front of us ever again!
And he even refused to talk with her after that. My father-in-law even moved to somewhere else to make sure she'll never come back. After she was dumped by both her husband and son, she had no job, no money, or house. And I heard she went back to her parents, but her sister and her family had already moved in with them, so now she's being bullied just like how she used to bully me. Well, serves her right, so I have no empathy for her at all.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.